Morning. Morning, everybody. Still morning. Yeah, I'm fine. There was a small issue with my presentation going missing, but maybe a correction on some of them. So I was a late draft in. My presentation is not what was on the agenda. And I'm also not from South Africa. I don't know where that came from. So I am from Ireland. I live just outside Dublin. I work for AfriFueling Solutions. For those who remember Tockheim, I'm originally from Tockheim. 30 years this year in October, I've been in this fueling industry. Seen lots of changes. And believe me, the panel before, I've got so many answers or questions for you on how it works. It's not that difficult. Can you go to the next slide? Gentlemen. Next one. So, just a quick snapshot of DFS, Dover Fueling Solutions. This is us. All of these that you might be familiar with are all part of DFS. DFS was in 2017, a company called Dover Corporation in the US acquired Tockheim. And then in their wisdom, they decided to acquire Wayne, which was our biggest competitor, and put us all in the same group. So we used to have a blue team and a red team. Now we're just the purple team. And now we have these other companies. Some might be familiar with you. OPW might be, Fairbanks, ProGauge is the tank gauge element. Next slide. Now, what we're going to discuss, and it leads on nicely from what was discussed in the panel before, is optimizing your fuel. So this is optimizing how it's delivered, and how it's transported, how it's sold to the customer, and how you also keep track of it. The better word for it, to be honest, is visibility. It's visibility on everything. So some of the questions or challenges that came up within weights and measures, how you track it, there are things that we can help with. Next slide. Next one. So this is an overview of everything connected, visibility-wise. So from the fuel product being delivered to the sites, from tracking the trucks, from selling to a customer, but the primary focus of all of this is to make sure that the customers are served correctly, promptly, and with a good service product behind it. It's not about us just providing equipment to you. So next. So what we mean by fuel system optimization, same as I said, better fuel supply planning. So fuel is delivered to the sites when they need it, and not because it's Tuesday or Thursday. It's in just in time. Also, better fuel stock and loss control. So you mentioned some numbers about fuel loss. The interesting one was on temperature, which I'll come back to. And then this one, better management of compliance, depending on your rules and regulations. Next. 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 So, the first question, to some of you who are retailers, why tank gauges, or why automatic tank gauges? In the past, everybody thought it was to do about inventory, about managing how much fuel is in the tank. But to be honest, it's a lot more. We did get asked by a customer in Europe before, why should they buy our tank gauge? And we asked him, why do you need a tank gauge? And he said, nobody has ever asked me. He said, the answer is very different, and you can see them here, depending on what it is. Is it for health and safety? Do we really want people walking out on a forecourt that has vehicles on it with a dipstick? Also, dipsticks are not accurate, no matter what anybody says. They have pits missing, they use the wrong one. The human eye can see about plus or minus 4 millimeters. A tank gauge probe that we put in the tank measures 0.01 of a millimeter. So there's no conversation on that. Also, more about compliance. Are we compliant to rules? Environmental risk. Are we leaking fuel? How much is it going to cost to fix that? And then more importantly, reputation of the station. Have they always got fuel? When I go to buy my fuel, is it always there? So tank gauges are a major part of all of that, or component. Next. Next, we don't need to do that one. So this is a typical tank gauge, what they look like. So there's 3 in our family, depending on various functionality that you need to do with either if you have suction or if you have pressure dispensers. They all come fully loaded with the software. They can all support multiple tanks. But more importantly is on the next slide for you guys. So this is the probe. This is the bit that goes inside the tank. This is where it all comes from. And uniquely for us, we have something that's extremely flexible. Back to South Africa as a reference, is very popular in South Africa, and it's this, the wireless probe. So wireless probes are really fit for purpose on stations that are maybe what we call legacy, a little bit older, or whenever they were constructed, there was no infrastructure put in place for cabling and ducting or conduit or whatever you want to call it. So with wireless technology, we don't need that. So now, on the wireless technology, this uses a very specific bandwidth. It is not impacted by trucks or vehicles being parked on top of tanks. It is what's called a master device, so it wakes up, it transmits, it goes back to sleep. And it, from a customer perspective, so from you looking at the information, it's exactly the same, whether it's wireless or wired. You wouldn't know any difference. But it's really on the cost of installation that's the big difference. As long as we have a manhole chamber that has an entry into the tank, we can put a probe in it. You can put as many as you want. The console can support up to 16, but traditionally fuel stations are around 3 or 4 tanks. Next page. Next. Now, all of them come with an interface to what we call DX Wetstock, or a wetstock management service. And it is in different forms, different features, and it can help address some of the elements that you have to do with tank calibration, deliveries that are possibly short, fueling that is over or under. So next slide. Next slide. So these are some of the traditional way. Do I have an Excel sheet? Am I writing down what was delivered, what was sold? Do I do the planning manually? This is what most people do. But by providing or by using technology that is available today, we can collect all the data and provide that in a dashboard service and some other services but on it that can also help. So you don't have to do it. The system will tell you when to order fuel. But also, more importantly, next one. Next one. Here. We can also give you reconciliation in real time. This one. So we had an interesting topic about meters on dispensers with weights and measures. We can identify if a dispenser is over-dispensing or under-dispensing. We can also tell you which dispensers are the most used, which ones have slow flow rate, which ones need some maintenance. More importantly, up to this one where it says theft, we can also detect which ones have been put into override and they're being used without authority. So that's fuel theft. Also, taxes are not paid. Next one. Next. Next, next. Next. So, in a nutshell, and then I'm going to show you some numbers. So, it's environmental protection, it's compliance, depending on what your country or region asks you for. Visibility is the key one. So, with this type of service, we monitor 3 of the biggest oil companies in the world globally are using this service. Some of them are also in Kenya. We improve the profit margins because we reduce your losses. And also we lower the operational cost on it. Next. Now, everybody loves a number. So these are numbers. So this is real life. Right? These are not made up. So we ran a concept on 10 fuel stations that were in the UK for 6 months. And on those 10 stations, as you can see here, we found 4 leaks on the station. But if we hadn't have touched anything and left them trading, that would have meant 39,000 litres of fuel would have leaked into the ground over a 1 year cycle. 27,000 litres of fuel would have been oversold because the dispensers were not calibrated properly. So we could save around $500,000 for this one customer. So we can provide this data. This is real life. This is what happens in real life. So if you imagine that your fuel dispenser is over dispensing by half a litre every transaction, you're not getting paid for it. The customer gets it. Or if every time you get a fuel delivery from a truck, it's 500 litres short, you're still being invoiced it. Now, something that did come up, just on maybe food for thought, does anybody understand the temperature compensation? So you brought up a very valid point about temperature variation. So depending on hot and cold climates, fuel increases or shrinks in its volume. Not in its energy, but it's in its volume. So for example, here where you have a warmer climate, if the fuel is in the truck and it arrives at site, maybe it's 30 degrees in the fuel. The fuel underground is not, because it's underground, so it could be 20 degrees. When you drop the hot fuel on top of the colder fuel, it increases and then it goes back down again. So you see an increase in volume. And it happens the other way around as well. So in order to do that, and I'm not sure in Kenya because I'm not familiar, outside of here, we have a thing called temperature compensation. So everything is calculated from the depot to the station at 15 degrees. It's an industry standard. Across Asia, it's 20, Europe, it's 15, which means that when you pay your invoice to the oil company, you pay at 15 degrees, because that's the standard. So maybe that's something that needs to be discussed to be adopted. Is 20 here? Yeah. So the tank gauge also provides, and the whole wet stock solution, the volume in the ambient temperature, which is what it is today, also in 20 degrees. So for your reconciliation of financial records, it's clean, it's easy. So I can take a couple of questions, and then I have to wrap up because we're way behind. No, crystal clear. Everybody's going to have tank gauges?
So thank you for that presentation. I think most of us are very familiar with your products. The name that we didn't know is Ndova, but I think I have so many years that I've used Tokim, Wayne, those pumps, and OPW dispensers. So, and it's proven that you have the best product at this side of the globe in terms of the equipment. My question here is the integration. How versatile is what you're offering for integration with ERPs, with the account management systems and such?
Very. So if we go at the cloud level for DX Wetstock, we can provide APIs and we integrate to SAP, Oracle, everything else. We also don't restrict that to anything, so if there is something we need to integrate to. From the tank gauge and the support on on-site systems, it supports all the common protocols and can connect to all the common devices. So we use this system globally, so it's not new to us if we need to do some work on integration, so there's not an issue.
Okay. I think that's pretty clear. Maybe the other one I may just want to get to know is the training. You do training for the people that are supposed to handle this equipment?
We do training with our distributors here, but we are in discussion about doing some dedicated sessions, more focusing on forecourt technology in today's world rather than the future. So it's today we need to address. If we address today, that'll help the future. So we need to start at the bottom and work our way up.
Appreciate. I think I may just want to make a comment that that kind of a solution is part and parcel of what is lacking when it comes to efficiency within the forecourt. And I think if it works the way you've explained it, I think it's something
Well,
that
no,
we may want to look
it
at.
works. It
Yeah.
works. Believe me, it works.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.